4, 3, 2, Converted Man here. How's it going? Okay, so I was thinking about experiences that people have had or claim to have had and how we can examine them, or how can we hope to examine them. So the first thought is we're going to just assume that they've experienced something. And what the something is up for debate. Like, did it really happen, or did it just happen in their brain? And how can we know? How can we hope to know the difference? We have to be aware of cognitive bias, that we are going to look for confirmation of what we think is real and what we want to be real. So let's say that you had an experience of a UFO encounter. That's something that other people have said that they've experienced. Well, unless you recorded the experience as you were having it, you don't have immediate access to the data of what happened. And memory is not perfect. So what will happen is you've had that experience, and even a minute goes by, an hour goes by, a day goes by, whatever, and you're thinking about it, and whatever gaps in memory you had will become more pronounced as time goes on. If you look up, did other people experience this? You'll find other things that seem to match what you had, or because of how many people there are, what you've had. And so your cognitive bias will say, aha, I found it. See, this is legitimate. It really happened, not just in my brain, but it happened in reality. So this is what religion kind of does, in the sense that it says, do you believe in this thing? And maybe at first you don't, but everyone else that's already there already does believe. And they're all participating in this group activity of believing. Standing up and singing. They're sitting down and singing. Stand up, sit down. Stand up, sit down. Read from the holy book and perform this ceremony. And becoming part of that, you go along with the crowd. That's our tendency to do. And so eventually you'll come to believe what they believe, or you'll pretend to believe what they believe until you actually do believe what they believe. That's what can happen when you have an experience that is more than mundane. When if you didn't document it right then and there, or immediately after, you already have the problem that experience is subject to your own memory. So you're going to fill in the gaps of your memory. Then you're going to go looking to see if this is something that other people experience, which is forming a cognitive bias. You're looking to confirm that this happened for real rather than just in your brain. And to decide between the difference, well, how do I know that this really happened versus how do I know that it just happened in my brain? You have to approach that as you do with many things, from a skeptical stance. I don't know what happened. I believe something happened, I think something happened. I feel like something happened, but it could be anything, or it could be nothing at all. It could have been a dream, could have been hallucination. It could have been that, there's a magnetic frequency somewhere that's affecting my brain. Could be some drugs in my system that I didn't know about. It could be any number of things. And so if I go and I look for people that have experienced something like I did, I'm going to find that because people experience things and they write about it. And what happens is the group collective adds their thoughts and says, okay, well, I experienced this, I experienced that. And the ones that are hits, you'll remember, and the misses, you'll ignore or forget. So the ones that align with your experience, you'll say, aha, see, I agree with that. And the ones that don't, you'll say no to. That's what essentially UFO experiences are, or experiences of the paranormal, God, whatever. And not everybody can have these odd experiences because brains are wired differently. So your brain might not be able to ever have this, well, psychedelic type of experience, whereas somebody else might be very susceptible to it. And that's explainable under naturalism, but not so well under paranormal or supernaturalism. Because, well, why would some people be able to experience the paranormal and others wouldn't? And of course, you can make up ad hoc explanations for this, and people do. And any belief can fall to cognitive bias. Flat Earth is a pretty good example. Here's people that the Earth looks flat to me. I don't see a curve. I mean, it seems flat, and I need to see it to believe it. Okay. Other people have, but you don't want to trust them. You want to experience that for yourself. And until we get really inexpensive space travel, that's not really an option. Okay. But then they'll believe that the earth is flat in a certain way. And so all it takes is to see a picture, a map that somebody drew, and say, "Oh yeah, that's the earth." So they'll accept that there's places that they've not seen in pictures, as long as it confirms their bias that the earth is flat. So they'll believe in a China, even if they've never seen China at all, or even pictures of China. Well, and even if they've seen pictures of China, well, if they're saying that, NASA can fake these pictures of Earth, well, why can't NASA fake pictures of China? Maybe the state that you're in, if you've never left your state, or even if you have, well, maybe that was an illusion too. So why think anything's real? At what point do you make the decision that this is real and that's not real? I've seen that, so therefore that's real. But did you see it, or did somebody just trick you into seeing it? Is getting on a plane really getting into a giant VR simulator that pretends to take off from the ground and pretends to fly and pretends to land somewhere else, and so everyone thinks they're in a different state, but it's only a few miles away, and you weren't able to drive there, or you could drive there, but the roads too are simulated at some point, so there's only one state. Well, why not? You could believe that, and you could still say, well, I just want to believe what I see, but I fit this into my category of things that I haven't seen, which is, you haven't seen the people faking the roads. You haven't seen people faking the airplane. You haven't seen people faking uh, the pictures of China. You haven't seen people faking the pictures of outer space. But whatever it is that you will help the belief, you'll choose to believe that that's true. And the things that don't help the belief will be discarded. So is it in your head or not? So you have an experience. You don't know what to call it. It's very powerful, feels great. And is it God? Is it a ghost? Is it an angel? Is it a demon? Well, it was a good experience. So therefore it's a good thing. It's a good spirit. It's a good God or whatever. Well, why did you make that decision? Well, the idea of God is out there in the world and is commonly known and is said to be experienced by other people. So again, cognitive bias will come in and confirm that this is not just in your brain. But I don't know why it's so difficult to just say, this happened in my brain, and that's it, and just leave it there. What's so unsettling with it being mundane? What's so unsettling with accepting it as an unknown and living with the mystery? I suppose people just really want to know. But no, I've got to know why. The UFO thing that was kind of be made a big deal about because the government's looking at it and well, they released footage. Well, but if it was a real UFO, would they ever actually release footage? Uh, well, what is it? We don't know. That's why we call it unidentified. But well, it could be this, it could be that, it could be anything. Exactly. We don't know. That's the answer, is we don't know what it is. And somebody said, "Oh, but here it's got to have an explanation." Well, yeah, but we don't have to know what that explanation is. But if you wanted to believe that it was alien visitors, well, then you would come up with a story that aligns with what you see and explain it through that story filter lens. And then you'd find other people that agree with your story or that you agree with theirs, and you start having this shared experience together. And being part of a subset actually kind of helps to boost it. It's like, see, we're special because there's a few of us that have had this experience, and all those normies that haven't had this experience, well, too bad for them. So have you had a strange experience, something that you couldn't explain, something that you don't know what to make of it?